Okay, today we're going to work through the male reproductive system. So to get through today's identification, you're going to need the renal reproductive system identification sheet. So we're specifically going to work on the male, then we'll work on the female as well as the renal system separately. So when we're starting with the male reproductive system, the first thing we'll do, I'll just adjust my camera, is to cut through the skin and muscles of the pelvis so that we can see the components of the male reproductive system. So we're going to disarticulate or pop the hip out of place just so we can get a better vantage point. When we do that, the first thing we're going to see is the scrotum. So we're actually going to cut through the scrotum, and the muscle lining the scrotum is called the dartos muscle. And the job of the dartos muscle is to help regulate temperature of the testicle. So we're going to cut through the scrotum and remove a testicle so we can examine parts of the testicle. We're going to remove the testicle here. We're going to notice on the outside of the testicle there is a fibrous sac called the tunica albuginea. So I'm going to remove the fibrous sac from the outside of the testicle. So this is the tunica albuginea, the tough fibrous sac that protects the testicle. With this removed, I can see a couple of important features. The first are the seminiferous tubules. And the seminiferous tubules are these squiggly lines that we see here. This is where spermatogenesis or sperm formation begins. So we see really good examples of the seminiferous tubules here. So sperm formation begins on the outside of the testicle, goes to the center of the testicle to a portion called the rete testi, and then enters into the epididymis. The epididymis has three parts. The first portion of the epididymis is this structure here called the head of the epididymis. So sperm enter into the head of the epididymis as immature sperm. They have no motility. They can fertilize an egg at this point, but they can't get to the egg. From the head of the epididymis, sperm will actually transition into the body of the epididymis that we see here. The body of the epididymis runs along the side of the testicle. You can see it attached to the head of the epididymis here. So the body of the epididymis transitions into the tail of the epididymis, this structure down here. The tail of the epididymis is where sperm are mature, and they're stored until they're ready to leave the testicle. And it can take 2 to 3 months from sperm to move from the head through the body down to the tail. But once they reach the tail of the epididymis, they have motility, meaning they can move, and they can move towards an egg to fertilize an egg. When sperm are ready to leave the tail of the epididymis, they do so via the ductus deferens or the vas deferens. So in human anatomy, we commonly refer to this as the vas deferens. So when you think of a vasectomy, it's actually severing of the vas deferens. As you'll notice, the vas deferens or the ductus deferens runs right alongside the body of the epididymis that is here. So don't confuse them. The difference, or how you can differentiate between the epididymis here and the vas deferens that I'm holding above the probe, is the vas deferens is going to leave the testicle. So it's the vessel that allows sperm to leave the testicle. So it's going to leave the testicle, transition into the spermatic cord, and we'll identify the spermatic cord on our specimen here in a second. So seminiferous tubules, head of the epididymis, body of the epididymis, tail of the epididymis, ductus or vas deferens here going into the spermatic cord. We also have the tunica albuginea, or the fibrous sac that surrounds the testicle. Another structure that we want to identify right at the top of the testicle is called a pampiniform plexus. And the pampiniform plexus is a complex arrangement of blood vessels, and the job of the pampiniform plexus is to cool blood coming from the body before it gets to the testicle. So we think about warm body temperature blood coming into contact with sperm forming in the testicle. We want to cool that blood before it reaches the testicle so that it's not denaturing or killing sperm. So the complex arrangement of blood vessels in this area called the pampiniform plexus, its job is to dissipate heat from body temperature blood. When we look back at our specimen, we're going to see the spermatic cord. So let me do a little more trimming here. We'll see the spermatic cord, and then we'll see a structure called the sigmoid flexure. So I'm going to see if we can find. The sigmoid flexure is an S-shaped curve in the body of the penis that we see in boars and ruminants. So it's pretty distinguishable. We can see it starting to form right there. So this structure here is the sigmoid flexure, this S-shaped curve right here. So we're going to follow the penis down through the sheath and the prepuce. So sheath and the prepuce would cover the body of the penis, specifically the erectile tissue of the penis. So we're going to keep cutting so that we can reveal the glans penis. And if you recall from the lecture regarding the reproductive system, species have unique glans penis shapes. And oftentimes we see the inverse in the female, specifically in the cervix of the female. And I'll talk about that a bit more in the lecture. So we're going to cut through to see if we can expose the glands. There we go. The glans penis, or the urethral process specifically, I'm going to hold my hand behind it where you can see it a bit better. The glans penis is the erectile free tissue at the end of the penis. Specifically, we see a lot, again, species variation. We also see a bone right back here called the os penis. The os penis is a circular bone, and we know that the urethra is entering into the penis so that urine can pass out here as well as sperm. So one common problem that we see in ruminants, the os penis, again a circular bone, if we have urinary calculi or urinary stones, they can actually get stuck in the os penis, thus stopping urine from leaving the urethral process or leaving the end of the penis. We call that condition water belly. So urine builds up in the belly, specifically right around the sheath and the prepuce. It's because there is a urinary stone or a urinary calculi that is blocking the os penis, thus allowing or not allowing urine to leave.